everyone. This is former Pennsylvania State Constable Steven Wiggs of the 16th Ward, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I want to revisit something with you guys that is actually mind-boggling, how many may desire to overlook with regards to my case. Now, this is something that I've brought up many times before, but I'm going to bring it up again because it's highly potent that this information gets echoed. It has to get echoed, right? The media wants to ignore it, and many people that are in disbelief behind their so-called law enforcement heroes cannot be rigged with corruption. Rigged with corruption all over their agency. Okay, so let's just revisit between the Pennsylvania issue regarding myself and the New Jersey issue. I told you guys that I was charged twice with impersonating in Philadelphia County by the Pennsylvania State Police twice. And they lost twice. You do not lose against the first ever state police force in the United States, of whom are a paramilitary group that is full of hard chargers You just don't win against a group like that. And your case you presented had not been valid. You see, those guys were so upset at their loss that they did not want to accept their defeat. So much so that when they were forced to accept it by their lawyer and was forced to give me back all of my equipment, that being everything that said police on the equipment, and they had to give me back my 2 firearms they confiscated in the case. People ask the question, did you sue? Did you actually sue these guys? And yes, I did. I did sue these guys. The answer is yes, I did sue these guys. But the judge in the federal lawsuit granted these guys qualified immunity because these guys claimed ignorance of the laws. If I had recording for every time I actually told these asshats what the law is, and my president of my association told them what the law is, and showed them to their faces what the laws is, they had all of the leverage to look at the laws and back off. They did not. They did not back off. They pushed forward instead of respecting the law for what they actually, what it actually said. Okay? Now, tying this to New Jersey, the Pennsylvania State Police and the District Attorney's Office of Philadelphia during my fight with them. See, at first, when they first charged me with impersonating, they thought that I wasn't an elected law enforcement official within the Pennsylvania State Constable Office. Then after that charge of impersonating a public servant got thrown out, they charged me again. A separate officer, a separate trooper, a corporal, the second time around. He charged me with impersonating a public servant because my equipment had the word police on it. And they lost there too. Why? Because the laws that we were showing them the whole time showed them that it stated in blatant words, openly, in black and white, that Pennsylvania State Constables are police officers. You don't get to create the laws. You're not lawmakers. You have to respect them for what they are. Don't have nothing to do with your feelings or your belief system, your opinions. Law is law. So how do we tie this to New Jersey? The judge in my case in Essex County. The judge in my case in Essex County used the same laws that the trooper ignored, that the troopers and the DA's office tried to ignore in Philadelphia. They used the same laws. They used the same laws that the DA's office and the troopers failed at using. They used the same laws that said constables are police officers. And they got to win. They got to win. And I'm going to tell you why they got to win. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to break something up. I'm going to break something down to you that my legal team is working on uncovering. You see, we're talking about police and judicial corruption. Police and judicial corruption. How did New Jersey get to win? They got to win because in the beginning of my fight, I had a public defender. He did a good job. But then, once I seen that the public defender was being abused, regardless of the law, the judge in my case in New Jersey ignored in the law Act 147. He used it against me when the law was in my favor in providing context that states the constable in Pennsylvania is a police officer. He didn't deny me being a constable, but he denied the literature of the law that he was using against me, of which said I was a police officer. He ignored to look at it. He ignored to mention it on the record that the law states constables in Pennsylvania are police officers. At that particular point, the judge is compromised. He is corrupt. impersonating a police officer when the law openly said I was a police officer. This is what the judge did. This is what the judge did. The law, the case law he used, Act 147 of the Supreme Court of 1990-1991. Look it up yourselves. Look up the law yourselves. The whole objective for me carrying a firearm into New Jersey relied on whether or not constables are law enforcement, constables are police officers, and they saw the law and they ignored it, only to find me guilty because these bastards dropped the ball. Their sheriff's department dropped the ball. Essex County Sheriff's Department is dirty as hell. The Essex County judicial system is dirty as hell. And now we're about to expose another layer to their corruption, of whom I thought was in my corner. But it turned out that he was against me and allowed them to do what they did to me. And that was my legal team toward the end of my fight there during that time in 2022, August of 2022. But there's layers to that being investigated, and I will talk to that on a later date. But I want you guys to know further. I want to revisit this and make sure that we all understand what has happened here between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I was charged twice in my state, in Pennsylvania, from which my agency comes from. The troopers lost against me. The Philadelphia courts granted me the win because it was blatantly clear that constables were police officers, and the judge ordered them to return all of my property on August 12th of 2019. Honoring me as a police officer, an elected, sworn officer of the law. But New Jersey got to use their corrupt court system in Essex County. This is not over. This is far from over. I want you guys to understand that. Former Constable Wiggs was and is, and my family is, I and my family is victims of police and judicial corruption within Essex County, New Jersey, by the Essex County Sheriff's Department and the Essex County judicial system. Victims. I want to make that clear. This is not over. You guys stay tuned, and I will bring you more information on the updates as this investigation from my legal team is unraveled. You guys be good. Wiggs out.